Representative Niland,
Yes.
a very different debate performance from your opponent than what I've seen in the past. Talk a little bit about today's debate.
I thought it was great. I think these sorts of forums are very important to our community. You need to be engaged in government and you need to know what's at stake. So I love the fact that these sorts of forums are opportunities for people to participate. I love it.
The biggest turning point, I think, in the debate was an issue where there was a very stark contrast between both of you having to do with an issue related to transparency and the ongoing case involving emails and personal devices.
Right.
He emphatically has stated that you have not signed that affidavit. You countered that yes, in fact, you had. What are the facts?
The facts are I've signed the affidavit and it's in the city attorney's office.
Okay, and is that accessible to the public?
Absolutely.
Okay, so if somebody requested that document,
Absolutely.
they should be able to get that?
Yep.
Okay, great. One of the other questions that I asked your opponent was about cutting taxes and still providing quality of life. I asked him, how are you going to pay for it? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, that's the challenge. And so when my opponent says he's going to cut taxes, but yet doesn't come to the table with any real solutions or suggestions, it sounds like to me a lot like political rhetoric. It's easy to make a promise, but it's something else to actually do it. And you've seen me strategically over the last 4 years work very closely with operations and the budget sessions, trying to make sure we trim back that budget as best we possibly can, but continue to provide the level of services the 6th largest city and the 19th largest in the state need to serve their constituents, and we're doing it.
What do you feel is the most pressing financial issue facing the city right now?
I think the most pressing financial issue that we have right now is we have to spend $475 million over the next decade. And what's challenging is right now the interest rate environment is the lowest it's ever been. Money's not going to get cheaper. So we have to find a strategic way to be able to spend those dollars and get the best bang for the buck for the constituent and the return on that investment they're willing to make, and so that we can grow the tax base surrounding some of these strategic investments we're going to make. But at the best time, figure out a way to issue that debt with the least burden on the taxpayer.
I asked this question of your opponent as well. At the last question of the debate, you guys had the opportunity to pose a question to one another. Frankly, I thought both of your questions were absolutely awful. I thought there was, I don't understand why you guys each asked the individual question. But he specifically asked about your plans for running for mayor. You want to address that?
Right now, I have no other plans except for running for my office. I've enjoyed serving the constituents of District 8. I've enjoyed serving the constituents of all of El Paso. And right now, I'm focused on this election and what I can do to better serve our community.
One of the complaints that you hear from folks most often in District 8, whether they live there or they have to travel through there, is Country Club Road. What's the status of Country Club Road? Is that going to get done any sooner than the county sportsplex?
Yes, it absolutely is. It should be done within the next 4 to 6 weeks. But when the city of El Paso makes a $13 million investment in a roadway, we need to make sure that we're delivering that roadway that the voters authorized and that the voters worked with us in such a community-involved process. So when we go out there and we see that maybe certain standards hadn't been met, and we see issues with striping and we see artwork that's not structurally sound, instead of just putting a rubber stamp on it and delivering it to you, we're going to make sure this road hadn't been done in 50 years. There was new piping that needed to be done for the service utilities, for all the utilities. And so we're doing this to better serve the constituents of District 8. But I will tell you, with growth comes growing pains, and it hasn't been fun for anyone, but I'm certainly not going to bow to political pressure to release a product that the constituents don't deserve. So when I go back out there and I say, nope, that's not what we said we were going to do, and that's not how we were going to do it, we're going to get it right before we deliver it.
Okay, last two questions. One of the issues that was brought up during the debate, you raised the point of your opponents talked about transparency. You countered with, well, you've talked about transparency, but you haven't been, and this isn't a direct quote, but words to the effect of that you've alleged that he hasn't been very transparent. What were you talking about? Can you elaborate?
What I was talking about is the fact that, when you can make promises like cutting taxes, or when you make promises that you can't deliver on, that's not being transparent. If you want to be transparent, when you make suggestions like that, you back it up with data and facts. And so it's easy to say to people, I'm going to cut your taxes. What politician doesn't say that? But give me real solutions. Tell me how you're going to do it.
And the final question, if you're talking to an undecided voter in District 8, what's your message?
my track record speaks for itself. You've seen more development in District 8 in the last 3.5 years than you have in decades. Unemployment rate is down. 3,500 new jobs have been created. You've seen new parks throughout our district. In fact, I get harassed by some of my colleagues on the dais because they keep saying, oh, of course it's going in her district again. And so I have a proven track record. We're about to go into another electric rate case. I have a significant history in making sure that I protect you, the ratepayer, because I have that sort of background. I'm the right choice for District 8.
Thank you, Representative.